Hi, second graders. Miss Jaskowski here. So just like I did yesterday, I'm going to read 2 chapters again because they're kind of short chapters. So we're going to get through them. So let's start up. Chapter 3, The Most Disgusting of Them All. It took 10 hours to drive to Southwest Harbor, Maine. 10 hours in the backseat of an old Blazer with Fudge, Tootsie, Turtle, and Uncle Feather, who wouldn't shut up. Some Mania birds don't talk at all, but Uncle Feather's not one of them. He'll repeat anything you say. Finally, I dropped the cover over his cage, hoping he'd think it was nighttime. Go to sleep, stupid, I told him. Stupid is one of his favorite words. But that didn't work either. Go to sleep, stupid, he chanted until even Turtle lost his patience and started barking. Grandma's really smart, I thought. She's flying up to Maine. As we got closer to our destination, Mom started reading to us from a guidebook. Southwest Harbor is on an island called Mount Desert. She pronounced it dessert. Ice cream, cookies, brownies, pudding, Fudge sang. Mom kept right on reading. I don't know why she thinks Fudge pays attention to her lectures on history. He hears only what he wants to hear. Everything else goes right by him. Founded in 1905, the town of Southwest Harbor. You call this a town, I thought as we drove through it. There was one street with a couple of shops, and that was about it. But I could tell Mom was really excited. She put down her guidebook and smiled at my father. Oh, it's so quaint, she said. Isn't it quaint, Warren? And my father smiled back and said, It's perfect, honey. Fudge chucked Tootsie under her chin. It's perfect, honey, he said, imitating my father. Then Uncle Feather started, honey, honey, honey. For some reason, Tootsie thought that was wildly funny, and she laughed until she got the hiccups. Mom passed a bottle of water to the back seat, and I stuck it in Tootsie's mouth. Take a left here, Warren, Mom said to Dad. We turned onto a dirt road, then pulled into a gravel driveway and parked in front of an old, weathered wood house. The first person I saw was the Queen of Cooties herself. She was standing on the seat of a rope swing. It hung from the branch of a big tree in the front yard. She was swinging pretty high when I opened the back door of the Blazer and Turtle jumped out. It had been almost 4 hours since I'd walked him, and he really had to go. He raced for the woods behind the house, but Sheila thought he was heading straight for her. Help! She screamed, wobbling on the swing. Somebody please help! She lost her balance and fell to the ground. What a dork. Mom jumped out of the car and ran to her rescue. It's all right, she said, helping Sheila to her feet. Turtle just had a wee-wee. How could Mom have used such an embarrassing expression? By then, Mr. and Mrs. Tubman, who had also heard Sheila's screams, came running out of the house. Are you okay? Mrs. Tubman asked Sheila. I'm fine, Sheila said, brushing herself off. It was just that disgusting dog. Before I had the chance to tell her who was really disgusting, a man with white hair called Lemonade. We all headed for the house and gathered around the table on the porch. I'm Buzz Tubman's father, the white-haired man said. He poured each of us a glass of lemonade. Call me Buzzy Sr. I polished off my drink really fast. Buzzy Sr. poured me another. I gulped it down. Long trip up here, isn't it? He asked. 10 hours, I said, wiping my mouth with the back of my hand. He filled my glass again. I didn't even notice Fudge watching until then. You must be really thirsty, Pete. Yeah, I said. Remember that time you drank too much Island Punch and I clamped my hand over his mouth. He still doesn't get the difference between stories you tell to strangers and stories you keep to yourself. I looked at Buzzy Sr. Fudge knows a lot about dinosaurs, I said, hoping to change the subject. But as soon as I took my hand away from his mouth, Fudge laughed. And Pete knows all about cooties. Well, you can't know too much about cooties, can you, Pete? Buzzy Sr. said, smiling at me. And guess what else, Fudge said. I'm getting married under the trees. Do I know the bride? Buzzy Sr. asked. It's Sheila Tubman, Fudge said. Oh, my granddaughter, Buzzy Sr. said. Sheila's your granddaughter? Fudge asked. Buzzy Sr. nodded. Have you popped the question yet? How do you pop a question? Fudge said. You have to ask if she wants to marry you, Buzzy Sr. explained. Why wouldn't she want to marry me? It's something you have to decide together, Buzzy Sr. said. Okay, Fudge said. He turned toward Sheila, who was sitting in a rocking chair. Hey, Sheila, you want to marry me, right? Sheila laughed so hard she nearly fell off the chair. See, Fudge said, I popped the question and she wants to marry me. Congratulations, Buzzy Sr. said. You're a lucky man. Lucky, I thought. That's not what I'd call it. The screen door opened and Libby stepped out onto the porch. Libby is Sheila's older sister. She's almost 16, but no one would make the mistake of calling her sweet. She was carrying a small white and brown puppy. Sheila jumped. I expected her to run for her life. Instead, she cooed, Ooh, my baby, my precious furry baby. She kissed the puppy about 30 times. You have a dog, I asked. Yes, Sheila said proudly. Her name is Jake, and we just got her. Isn't she adorable? I thought you were afraid of dogs. She is, Libby said. I'm not afraid of Jake. She's afraid of dogs in general, Libby told me. That is so unfair, Sheila said. But it's true, isn't it? Libby asked in her most obnoxious voice. I just don't like big, smelly, disgusting dogs, Sheila said, looking directly at me. Are you calling my dog smelly and disgusting, I asked. Sheila folded her arms and smiled. Turtle is the most disgusting dog ever born. You want to see disgusting? Look in the mirror, I told her. You want to smell disgusting? Smell yourself. Are you two going to argue for 3 weeks, Libby asked, because that could get to be a real bore. You're right, I said, so why don't you just tell me where our house is, and that will be the end of it. This is your house, Sheila said. I thought this was your house. It's 2 houses, but they're connected. What do you mean connected, I asked. Didn't you learn anything in 6th grade, Peter? Connected means attached, joined together. I know what the word means, I told her. Don't worry, Sheila said. There's an inside door that separates your house from ours. An inside door? I thought. How am I going to explain this to Jimmy Fargo? I promised him a forest between our houses, not an inside door. Suddenly we heard a rustling sound, and a minute later Turtle came tearing out of the woods. A terrible smell followed him. I mean, really bad. Ew, Sheila cried, holding her nose. What that smell? It stinks, Dad said, holding his. Turtle's been sprayed by a skunk. Oh no, Mom said. She held her nose too. Not skunk. They all sounded as if they had the worst colds. I would have laughed except for the smell. It was so strong I had to hold my nose just like the rest of them. This is nothing for what, Libby said, grabbing Jake and running back into the house. Do something, Peter, Sheila yelled. What am I supposed to do? He's your dog, isn't he? Let's not panic, Mr. Tubman said. Let's think through in a logical way. This isn't the time for logic, Mrs. Tubman said. This is the time for action. Tomato juice, Buzzy Sr. said. Put him in a tub of tomato juice. Where am I supposed to get some tomato juice to cover him? Mrs. Tubman asked. I'll take care of it, Gene, Dad said. Don't worry. He headed for the blazer. Fudge chased Dad. Wait for me. Where are you going, Warren? Mom called. For tomato juice, Dad called back. All this time, Turtle was rolling over and over in the grass, trying to get rid of that awful smell. He knew he was in big trouble. I always knew your dog was the smelliest dog in the entire world, Sheila said, and this proved it. For once, I had to agree. Chapter 4, The Worst News of the Century. I wasn't surprised that our first hour in Maine was a disaster. I knew if Sheila Tubman was involved, it would be. I begged Mom and Dad to leave right after Dad scrubbed Turtle with this special shampoo called Skunked, but by then hamburgers were cooking on the grill, so I begged them to leave right after supper, but they wouldn't listen. Don't say I didn't warn you, I told them. I guess we're willing to take our chances, Dad said. Now let's get some sleep. It's been a long day. We carried our bags through the inside door separating our house from Sheila's, but on the other side there was just a staircase leading to 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. This is it, I said. This is our house? Yes, Mom said. Isn't it nice? Where's the living room, I asked. Where's the kitchen? We're sharing the living room and the kitchen with the Tubmans, Dad said. Sharing? I could hardly get the word out. We're sharing with the Tubmans? Learn to share, Fudge said, and you'll be a very happy person. Don't give me any of your kindergarten philosophy, I told him. This is serious. Upstairs, Mom and Dad looked over at the 3 bedrooms. They chose the one with the double bed for themselves. The 2nd bedroom had a single bed plus a crib. Grandma would share that with Tootsie, which left the smallest bedroom for Fudge and me. You two should be comfortable in here, Dad said. I looked round. There were 2 camp beds so close together you could kick the person in the other bed. That should be useful if Fudge talks in his sleep. I thought there was also a lamp and a low chest with 2 drawers, and the ceiling sloped on one side of the room, so when I stood up straight, I banged my head on it. What about when Jimmy comes? I asked Mom. We'll work it out, she said. Don't worry. But how could I not worry? At least Mom was able to convince Fudge that Uncle Feather would be happier downstairs. We'll put his cage in front of the picture window in the living room so he can watch what's happening, she said. Suppose he has a bad dream, Fudge said. Does he usually have bad dreams? Mom asked, as if Fudge were an expert. Sometimes he dreams of scary monsters, Fudge said, especially if he has to sleep all alone in a strange place. When you cover his cage, he won't know he's in a strange place, I said. He'll know, Fudge said. He's a very well-adjusted bird, I argued. He'll be fine. I wasn't about to share a room with Fudge and Uncle Feather. Even Fudge was too tired to argue. Okay, he said, yawning. Then he flopped on his bed and was out cold before I turned off the light. We went to town the next afternoon. The gears on Dad's bikes were stuck, so he dropped it off at Bicycle Bob's shop for repairs. Bicycle Bob is a big, friendly guy who wears a t-shirt that says, I'd rather be biking. Then we went to Sawyer's Market for groceries and go to the library to get our cards and to Oz Books where Fudge and I each got 2 paperbacks. After that, we headed for the airport. Grandma's plane was right on time. As soon as we got home, she shook hands with each of the Tubmans and said, Call me Muriel. Then she turned 4 cartwheels on the front lawn. I could tell the Tubmans were impressed. Muriel, Sheila called, chasing Grandma. Could you teach me to turn cartwheels? I don't see why not, Grandma said, breathing hard. I ran a gymnastic camp for years. Oh, I just love to turn cartwheels, Sheila gushed. My friend Mouse Ellis can turn cartwheels. You have a friend named Mouse? I asked. Mouse, mice, creepy crawly lice, Fudge sang, pleased with his rhyme. Fudgy, Sheila scowled. That's not exactly nice. Then she turned back to me with her hand on her hips. My friend Mouse is coming here in 10 days. But that's when Jimmy Fargo's coming. I heard my voice crack, but I didn't care. Jimmy Fargo's coming here? Sheila's voice sounded funny too. Yeah, for a week at least. That's the worst news of the century, Sheila cried. Worst news of the century, Fudge said, doing an imitation of Sheila. The worst news of the century. Stop that, Fudgy. Sheila picked him up and shook him. Is that any way to treat your future husband? I asked. Yeah, Fudge said. Mommy never shakes Dad. We're never getting married if you act that way, Sheila told him. Say you're sorry or the wedding's off. Are you going to let her boss you around like that? I asked Fudge. Just stay out of this, Peter, Sheila said. Yeah, Pete, Fudge said. Fine, I told him. You want to cook your own goose? Go ahead. Fudge started laughing. I don't have a goose, Pete. All right, that's it for today. We will continue on with the story next week.